There is a truth that will not be visible to us until May 31st, the second full moon of this month, the blue moon. And in the next 12 minutes, I am going to train your eyes to see her before she rises. If your body was restless this weekend, if you've been crying for no reason, if you can't sleep, if the news is sitting in your chest, this video is for you. Stay with me till the end. The thread will close. This past Friday, May 1st, was not a normal day. Beltane, Friday, Venus's day, full flower moon in Scorpio, and Vesak. The day Buddhists honor Lord Buddha's birth, his enlightenment, and his death, all on the same full moon. 4 sacred currents on one Friday. And on May 31st, a second full moon closes the gate. Lord Buddha sat through the night under a full moon and woke up. He didn't run from suffering, he didn't bypass it, he stayed. And the staying was the awakening. That is the entire instruction of this month. But none of this lands if we pretend we are not standing where we are standing. So let me name it. Gaza. This past Friday, workers in Gaza were searching for any income they could find on the genocide. More than 19% in poverty, 800,000 displaced in flood zones since winter. And just this week, the resistance reached the radars at the American embassy. I'm sorry, I'm recording all evening already, and I sometimes stumble a little bit over my words. I'm building a Patreon, so if you like my content, stay tuned for the announcements. The resistance reached the radars at the American embassy. The infrastructure that tracks the bombs was struck, destroyed. That is Pluto. When the empire is convinced it cannot be touched, the underworld speaks back. And here is the part that should not be possible. And I saw 3-3 on the timer, so thank you. The spring rain has come back to Gaza, and the earth, Mama Gaia, between the rubble, between the tents, is blooming again. Wild flowers through broken concrete. Even there, the flower moon is doing what the flower moon does. If the earth in Gaza can bloom, what excuse do we have not to? Iran. Women are being arrested in waves. Executions accelerated. And still, Iranian women are walking out of their houses without covering their hair. That is what Pluto looks like in a body, when the cost of obedience exceeds the cost of truth. India. Tens of thousands of workers tear-gassed in Noida and Gurugram for asking to live on what they earn. And under it all, women who do 80% of India's farm work and own 14% of the land. But the United Nations has just declared 2026 the International Year of the Woman Farmer. After centuries of being the soil, the seed, and the harvest, while owning nothing, being named, getting burned, that is Venus in Taurus on her own throne. The United Kingdom. This very weekend, the Prime Minister floated banning pro-Palestine marches. Last month, 500 people arrested at a London vigil for standing. When the empire is afraid, it criminalizes grief. The United States, this past Friday, 3,000 actions in 40 cities. Workers over billionaires, no kings, teachers walking out, eyes surrounded. And I I don't think that there's anyone from ICE listening to to me, but if there's an ICE listener, then I want to ask you, why are you still standing against your own kind, the ones who are fighting not only for their own families, but also for yours, because you are just the same as us, a number. That is not a protest. That is a population waking up. Ireland, a Palestine bloc marched in the Dublin May Day rally. May 16th, another national demonstration. A country that remembers occupation in the bones and does not look away. Hear me. The same Pluto that is surfacing the rot is surfacing the rising. The Scorpio moon does not separate destruction from rebirth. The flower moon does not separate bloom from blood. They are one tide, one body. Grief is not weakness. Our grief for Gaza, for Iran, for the earth, for Mama Gaia, that is not a passive emotion. Grief is the liquid form of our love. Say it again with me. Grief is the liquid form of our love. When we stop pushing the pain away, the pain stops paralyzing us. It becomes fuel. The flame of Beltane burns on the oil of our truth. If you have been crying, scrolling through your phone this week, you are not weak. You are fueling. Now do something with me, right where you are. Take a breath, but don't send it up to your chest. Send it down, all the way down, to the deepest point of your pelvis, to the floor of your body. Feel the gravity there. That is where your power lives, not in your head, not in your words, in your foundation, in your sacrum, in the bowl of your hips. Power is only dangerous when it has nowhere to land. The reason we collapse around the wrong people, the reason we explode at a small thing, the reason we cannot say what we mean, it's not because we lack power. It's because the power has nowhere to sit in us. So we breathe down, we let it land. That is the only place sovereignty is possible. Venus rules love, but Venus also rules what we will trade ourselves for to feel loved. In a culture that profits from our loneliness, Venus' shadow is loud right now. We check the phone more than we breathe. We orchestrate all of it to not fall. But feel this with me right now. Make a fist, an actual fist. Squeeze it. Now ask yourself, who is actually trapped? The other person? Or your own hand that is no longer free to receive anything? So when you feel the grip starting, open the hand literally. Spread your fingers, let the air in. That is the gesture of Venus on her throne, not the grasp, the open palm. Real love does not require you to leave your body. If it does, it is not love. It's a transaction in a wedding dress. I am not recording this from above the work. I am inside it. I have spent the last weeks moving through this gate myself, feeling the truths I had been avoiding, watching old identities crack, watching the news and not knowing where to put my body, or at least my form of news, because I don't watch the news. I'm boycotting everything. I am the bridge, and I am also the woman walking that bridge. If your last weeks have felt like coming apart at the seams, me too. If you have wondered whether you are too sensitive for this world, me too. If you have wondered whether the depth in you is a curse, me too. The death that was punished is the death that's going to save us. We are not so much for the world that is dying. We are exactly enough for the world that is being born. At the end of a month with 2 full moons, with Pluto in the undercurrent, we don't walk out the same person who walks in. That is not poetic, that is structural. Some of us will lose a name, not legally, internally. The version of us that performed wellness, managed everyone, chose the wrong person, couldn't say no, didn't want to be the bad guy. That person is dying in May. That person is not the enemy. They are the survival self. They got us here. We thank them, lay them down, and walk on. And we will notice it when it's happening. When a sentence that we used to say won't come out anymore, a craving disappears, someone who used to meant everything just don't reach us anymore. Maybe we walk past the mirror and don't even recognize the eyes. What we planted on Beltane this past Friday, the blue moon will harvest. We were seated on the first. We come into ourselves on the last. The gate is still open. The full moon stays with us through this weekend. There is still time to light the candle, write the list, say the goodbye. So, the truth that I promised you at the beginning, the only one visible at the second moon. The blue moon does not bring us something new. She reveals what was already inside you. Underneath the noise, underneath our survival self, underneath every version of us that has been performing. Who you will be on May 31st is already inside of you right now. They are just waiting for the smoke to clear. That is why we sat together for these past 15 minutes. Not to add anything to you, to start training our eyes to see what was already there, what was always there. And remember, Lord Buddha sat through the night and didn't run from the suffering. He stayed. And the staying was the awakening. That is the whole practice. We do not have to fix it all. We do not have to solve the world before bedtime. We just stay in our bodies with each other, with what is. That is the whole Dharma. That is the whole moon. So, feet on the ground, hands on chest, maybe light a candle tonight, even though Beltane was a couple of nights ago. The gate is still open. Cry and don't call it setback or weakness. Bloom slow. Open the hands, breathe down. I'll see you back on the other side of this gate on the second moon. um, we will not be the same And that is the whole point. Thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Next Frequency. If you like my content, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and share anything that you want to share under in the comments. Thank you also so very much for being part of this frequency, for fighting the good fight, and stay safe, stay unharmed. I love you all so very much. Remember, frequency is power. Bye.